Welcome to ZenEnergy, a space for clarity, compassion, and meaningful orientation. ZenEnergy Organization is a nonprofit created to help people pause, listen inward, and return to one steady point. These reflections are offered as a moment of steadiness, a little more room to breathe, and one honest next step. Today's reflection is called Compassion That Sees Clearly. This reflection continues a small series in ZenEnergy on a principle at the heart of the work. Clarity and compassion are not two. In the previous reflection, we looked at clarity as a form of care. Today, we turn towards the other side of the same orientation, compassion as clear seeing. Not compassion with a little clarity added to it. Not compassion and clarity stitched together after the fact. But compassion that is already awake enough to see what is here. Compassion is one of the most beautiful human capacities. To care, to soften judgment, to remember that a person is more than one mistake, one limitation, one unfinished part of their life. To make room for difficulty without immediately turning it into blame. This matters. Compassion helps us stay human. It keeps truth from becoming cruel. It allows us to see pain without reducing a person to the pain they carry. But compassion can lose its ground when it becomes separated from clear seeing. This does not happen all at once. It can happen quietly. A little more understanding, a little more explaining, a little more waiting, a little more softening of what has already become clear. And then one day we notice what we are calling compassion has started to ask us to disappear. This is not because compassion is wrong. It is because one expression of compassion has drifted away from reality. Sometimes we think compassion means saying yes when something in us already knows no. Sometimes we think compassion means giving more time, even when the pattern has already shown itself. Sometimes we understand another person's pain so deeply that we stop seeing the whole situation. We see their wound. We see their difficulty, we see their reasons, but we no longer see what the situation is asking from us. We may tell ourselves, I should be more patient. I should be more generous. I should not need so much clarity. I should not make this harder. I should be able to carry this. And these thoughts may come from a sincere place. They may come from love. They may come from loyalty. They may come from gratitude. They may come from the real wish not to cause pain. But sincerity alone does not make something clear. A loving intention can still become overextension. A generous heart can still become self-erasure. A compassionate person can still lose ground beneath her own feet. This is why compassion has to stay connected to reality. Not to become cold, not to become suspicious, not to close the heart before life has even spoken, but to remain whole. Compassion that sees clearly does not stop being kind. It simply refuses to abandon what is real. It can say, I see that this is difficult, and this is still what is happening. It can say, I can understand there is pain here, and this pattern still cannot continue in the same way. It can say, I see the humanity in the situation, and my body, my time, my clarity, and my next step also matters. There is a kind of compassion that tries to avoid all discomfort. It wants everyone to feel okay. It wants every conversation to stay gentle. It wants every ending to be softened. It wants every truth to arrive without consequence. That is understandable. Many of us do not want to cause pain. Many of us knows what pain feels like. Many of us would rather carry more ourselves than become the reason someone else feels disappointed. But compassion that refuses reality cannot truly protect anyone. It may delay discomfort. It may keep the surface smooth for a while. It may help us avoid one difficult sentence. But underneath, something starts to become crowded. The body knows, the heart knows, the work knows, the relationship knows. Something begins to feel heavy, unclear, or untrue. Compassion that sees clearly asks a different question. Not, how do I keep everyone comfortable? But, what is the most humane way to meet what is true? This question changed the whole orientation, because humanity is not the same as avoidance. Kindness is not the same as vagueness, and being gentle does not mean we have to leave reality unnamed. A compassionate response may still need to be direct. It may need to ask one clear question. It may need to pause. It may need to name a limit. It may need to stop participating in something that has become distorted. This does not make compassion smaller. It makes compassion more honest. Sometimes compassion sounds like, I understand why this is hard, and I cannot continue in the same form. Sometimes it sounds like, I hear you, and I need clearer information before I proceed. Sometimes it sounds like, I wish this could be different, and I have to respond to what is real. Sometimes it sounds like, I still care, and I cannot keep abandoning myself to prove it. These are not contradiction. There are moments when the heart and clear seeing are allowed to stand together. The heart can remain open without losing its ground. The mind can see clearly without becoming cruel. The body can say no without becoming hateful. A relationship can be honored without being allowed to distort reality. A person can be understood without being given authority over our next step. One of the quiet difficulties of compassion is that it can become mixed with identity. We may want to be the kind one, the patient one, the steady one, the person who does not give up, the person who can hold complexity, the person who can make room for everyone. There's beauty in this, but even a beautiful identity can become heavy when we are no longer free to tell the truth. If being compassionate means we are not allowed to name our limit, then compassion has become a role. If being kind means we are not allowed to protect our clarity, then kindness has become performance. If being understanding means we have to explain everything away, then understanding has lost its ground. In Zen energy, compassion is not measured by how much of ourselves we erase. It is not measured by how long we can remain unclear. It is not measured by how much we can absorb before the body finally says no to us. Compassion is reflected in whether truth and humanity can remain together. Can I see what is here? Can I respond without hardening? Can I care without disappearing? Can I allow reality to guide the next step? These are not abstract questions. They show up in ordinary life, in the message we delay answering, in the conversation we keep rehearsing, in the project that keeps asking us for more than it gives back, in the relationship where warmth is present but structure is not, in the moment when the body becomes tired of holding what the mind keeps making gentle. Sometimes compassion that sees clearly begins with a pause. Not a pause used to punish, not a pause used to disappear, not a pause filled with resentment. A real pause, the kind that let the noise settle enough for a clear seeing to return. The pause can say, I need time before I answer. I need to listen before I promise. I need to know whether this is compassion, fear, guilt, or habit. I need to return to myself before I respond. A pause can be compassionate because it prevents us from answering from pressure. It gives clarity and compassion a chance to return together. Sometimes compassion that sees clearly begins with one direct question, not 10 questions, not a long explanation, one honest question. What do you mean? What is actually possible here? What are you able to offer? What is being asked of me? What is the next real step? A clear question can be kind. It stops the mind from building a whole world out of assumption. It brings the situation closer to reality. Sometimes compassion that sees clearly means accepting what has already been shown. This can be painful. The heart may want more evidence, one more conversation, one more sign, one more delay, one more chance for the situation to become what we hoped it would become. But clear seeing may say, there is already enough information for the next step. Not enough information to judge the whole person. Not enough information to condemn the past. Not enough information to close the heart, but enough information to stop living in the same uncertainty. There is dignity in this. Dignity does not require coldness. It does not require anger. It does not require a dramatic ending. Sometimes dignity is very quiet. It is the moment we stop asking unclear care to lead. We can still care. We can still wish someone well. We can still understand the difficulty. We can still grieve. But we do not have to keep handing our clarity back to the part of us that is afraid to see. This is especially important when guilt enters the room. Guilt can make overextension feel like compassion. It may say, if you're truly kind, you would give more. If you were truly patient, you would wait longer. If you were truly compassionate, you would not need this boundary. If you were truly loving, you would not feel tired. But guilt is not always wisdom. Sometimes guilt is only the discomfort of changing an old pattern. Sometimes guilt appears when care begins to return to its right size. Sometimes guilt appears because we are no longer willing to abandon what we already know. We can listen to guilt without letting it become the ruler. We can ask, is this guilt pointing to something true? Or is it asking me to disappear again? Compassion becomes clearer when we remember that every person has their own life to meet. We cannot live another person's clarity for them. We cannot become another person's readiness. We cannot make someone choose what they're not choosing. We cannot turn warmth into structure by caring harder. We cannot make uncertainty become commitment by understanding more deeply. This does not mean we stop caring. It means we stop confusing compassion with control. Sometimes the most compassionate thing is to let reality belong to everyone involved. This also includes compassion towards ourselves, not self-pity, not indulgence, not a story that we're always right. Just a basic humane recognition. I am also a person in this situation. My body matters, my clarity matters, my time matters, my work matters, my limit matters, my next step matters. Compassion that excludes the self becomes incomplete. It may look generous from the outside, but inside it cannot remain whole. So the invitation today is not to become less compassionate. The invitation is to let compassion see more clearly, to care without becoming lost, to understand without explaining everything away, to listen without surrendering inner authority, to give without disappearing, to pause without hardening, to say no without contempt, to say yes without fear, to let clarity and compassion remain together. You might ask yourself, Where has compassion lost its ground? Where am I trying to be kind but becoming unclear? Where am I making room for something that has already become clear? Where am I understanding so much that I am no longer seeing simply? Where does compassion need more clarity? Where does clarity need more heart? There may be one small place to begin. A sentence, a pause, a boundary, a question, a decision to not answer yet, a decision to stop explaining, a decision to return to what has already been shown. It does not have to be dramatic. It only has to be honest enough to change the next step. Compassion that sees clearly is not the loss of compassion. It is compassion returning to its ground. It is warmth guided by reality. It is the heart learning not to abandon clear seeing. This kind of compassion can remain humane. It can remain generous. It can remain steady, but it no longer has to disappear into what it cares for. And that may be enough for today. Not because everything is resolved, but because clarity and compassion can begin to return together. Thank you for spending this moment with Zen Energy. May you leave with a little more clarity, a little more steadiness, and one small next step. To learn more, visit ZenEnergy Organization at zenenergyzen.org or explore our Web3 presence at zenenergyorg.eth.limo. If you feel moved to support this work, donations to ZenEnergy Organization help sustain our mission and may be tax deductible to the extent allowed by law.